Cheers and welcome to Classic Game Room, coming to you from the Intergalactic Space Arcade. This is a special Classic Game Room Q&A where I'm going to answer some questions from the Classic Game Room forums, but before I get to that, I'm going to have a sip of beer. Which is really good, especially in a Classic Game Room beer mug. Cut away. I announced it in the CGR forums, but let me say it on screen. I will be leaving Classic Game Room as a full-time career at the end of 2015. The show started in 1999 on the internet and ran through 2000. I brought it back in 2008 and have made thousands of video game reviews. It's been a great time, but it is time to move on. So starting in 2016, there will be no more daily Classic Game Room reviews. I do plan to continue the show as a hobby. So more on that later. We are shutting down the Classic Game Room web store and making major changes to the Classic Game Room website. Many of you have asked why. Well, that's a good question. But rather than me explaining it to you, I'm going to show you through one of my favorite mediums, the comic strip.
Did you guys hear that Classic Game Room is shutting down daily production? No!
What's that and why do I care?
It's that video game review show where the guy from The Offspring rambles on about Atari games.
What's Atari?
What are Offspring?
But it was my favorite show.
It sounds old and stupid.
Just like you.
We're watching Top 10 Ultra Ever Pony Quest and Craft Super Fails.
I'm live streaming my wall.
I'm live streaming my wall. I think that sums it up. While I tend to hide behind the guise of drinking beer and playing Truxton, two things I really like to do, I have a lot of concerns about the future of the internet and technology and how this affects the human race. I think we should all be worried about a world where the selfie stick exists. But it does no good to complain about it. It's much more effective to open it up for discussion with laughter and make fun of it. And that's what I'm going to do. 2016 Disco 8-track, the webcomic, is happening. A lot of fans have suggested some great funding alternatives and options. I'll be looking into that. More information soon. You can check out that comic right now on disco8track.com. Spread it around, have fun with it. Like a lot of you, I'm also a fan of Classic Game Room. I like the style and the format of the show. I really haven't changed it all that much since it started, even though the internet has changed a lot around it. And I'm not interested in adapting the show to the modern internet. If I can't do it the way it is, I'm not doing it, period. Now, thankfully, I can continue the show as a hobby. I have thousands upon thousands of games that fans around the world have sent to the show. And while people tend to thank me for introducing you to new games and old games and things like the Vectrex and Truxton and old Atari games, I have to thank you for introducing me to a lot of this stuff. Like these awesome packages would just show up with like ColecoVision games and some obscure Vectrex game I've never heard of and some weird controller and obsolete piece of technology that's super fun to review and make videos of. Thank you. Thank you for watching the show and for supporting it in this very special way. I think a lot of this stuff needs to be preserved, and it's been a shit ton of fun playing it all. It takes a lot of time and energy to make this show, and while I love it, there's other things I want to do. It's not ending, but it will be changing. Now, Classic Game Room will be discontinuing CGR Undertow, so I'd like to make sure that everybody who's enjoyed the CGR Undertow show over the years thanks them somehow. Send him a message. Compliment Derek on his beautiful locks of ginger hair. He absolutely loves that. Oh. Well, I'll take care of that later. We're actually working on a great joint review that you'll see soon. Now, I'd like to take this moment to say thank you to the CGR team who's worked hard behind the scenes, packing and shipping, taking orders and running the website. While I get to sit on camera and drink beer and have fun, there's a lot of people behind the scenes who have made this all happen. So thank you. Please show your appreciation and compliment Derek's hair. And I'd like to thank the Classic Game Room viewers for your years of support. Were it not for you, I would simply walk away at this point. You've sent so much cool stuff over the years that I'm going to continue reviewing it. It's back here. I still have all of it, and I love playing games and playing all these weird game systems and stuff that you sent, and these terrible handhelds and just bizarre comic books. I love that stuff. So the show will continue in a very limited fashion compared to what it was, certainly. So, more information on that later. But I think it's time to start the Classic Game Room Q&A. Musha versus Stormwind. Buy them both. They're both really good. The new Star Wars Battlefront game. Well, I'm not looking forward to many new games, except that one. I don't know if I'm going to review it. Maybe sometime. Certainly not rushing to do it because I'm trying to fill the rest of this year with fan donated games, and I will continue to do fan donation reviews next year. Because, like I said before, the show's not ending till 2084. So I've got to keep myself in good health. Where to buy a Vectrex? The internet. Or you can get lucky at a garage sale or flea market, but at this point, someone's going to try to screw you on the internet, so don't overpay. Music. I like music. Let's click on that. This better not be one of those Jar Jar bombs. There's a certain song I heard in an old Sega Rally 2 video, blah, 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 blah. You know, I've used a lot of stock music over the years, and my favorite part of stock music is that we legally use the music, and then YouTube comes along and says, oh, no, you violated copyright, and you go back to them like, actually, no, we've purchased this song, and then they ignore you. So, it's great. Good customer relations. Hey, Mark, who's your favorite Virtua Fighter character? Usually go with Pi. Who doesn't love Pi? Pandemonium asks, have you ever watched an old review that you completely forgot about making countless times? In fact, I've accidentally reviewed games twice. Mr. Sexy asks about people sampling my videos. You should never steal anybody else's work without asking them first, especially when using it in a shitty top 10 video, and then not giving them credit. So what else we have here? How did your review of Ben 10 Alien Force get over 55 million views? Because it's an awesome review. Actually, I have no idea. There was a time back in 2009 when there were far less videos on the internet where it was easier to get search traffic and video referrals and stuff. That's pretty much all dried up now. So, how to get 55 million views? Because there's like one kid out there who's a huge Ben 10 fan that watched it 55 million times. Dreamcast versus Genesis Shmups. Spaceship Shooters asks Teddy Kong Country. Why choose? Buy them both. You should definitely have a Dreamcast and a Genesis. They have incredible libraries. Obviously, the Genesis is a bit cheaper to collect for, but the Dreamcast is actually pretty affordable too. And you really want Gigawing, trust me. And Fast Striker and Gigawing too. And Seaman. All right, what else we got here? FPS Sports / Racing, the games of the future, asks Teddy Kong Country. What are the games of the future? It seems like that's all that's ever promoted on the modern consoles. Well, actually, I don't know. It seems like a lot of stuff's changing to these just never-ending adventure games or freemium crap. But then you're also starting to see some stuff like Rocket League, which I think is really cool. So I don't know that FPSs and sports games are necessarily the dominant games of the future. They're certainly popular genres, but like everybody plays video games now, you know? There's lots of different kinds of games. To just describe video games as one kind of game is no longer relevant because there are so many kinds of games. Let's see here. We have review Pitfall: The Lost Expedition. Someday. I like Pitfall games. Battletoads? Yes. In fact, I played the arcade game at Replay FX this past summer. It was fun. Dustin asks my thoughts on the Nintendo NX, and I'll tell you, I don't care. Not in the slightest. Don't even know what it is. You know what I like from Nintendo? The Game Boy Advance. What do you think of George Lucas? Asks Smash Brothers Maestro. Well, I'll tell you, I respect George Lucas a lot. I mean, he created Star Wars. I question some of his decisions, but really you can't overlook the fact he created Star Wars. He took the risks to make Star Wars. So, I have a lot of respect for George Lucas. Regardless of anything else, even Jar Jar, I have a lot of respect for George Lucas. How does it feel to be watched daily by so many people? creepy, actually. Can you help bring back Jolt Cola? That sounds like the kind of thing that you should write Amazon about. I think something like Amazon.com could probably bring back Jolt Cola. Amazon.com could probably raise the Titanic. And then turn it into a drone that flies around delivering Sega Genesis games. How awesome would that be? Anime reviews, probably not moving forward, except you should definitely all go out and watch Akira because it's awesome. Have you heard of Far Cry Blood Dragon? Search for my review of Far Cry Blood Dragon. What is the game you want to play most? Well, I still haven't played Truxton 2 yet. They're really expensive and hard to find, but someday I will. I will play Truxton 2. Fantastic Four thoughts. I have no thoughts on the Fantastic Four. Speedrunning, asks Sergeant Power Rex Colt Glove. You've been watching a lot of speedrunning video games. What game do you think you can beat the fastest? None of them, because I suck at video games. To be perfectly honest. Like, I wish I was good at video games. I'm only good at three or four of them. Centipede, Herzog Zwei, and Gran Turismo. That's probably about it. Ms. Pac-Man. Who would win? Uh-oh. Imperial Kador asks the who would win question. These are always good. Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid versus Max Sterling from Robotech. Well, Max Sterling, hands down. Max Sterling is awesome. I mean, have you seen Miria? Max Sterling is the man. Well, I have plans to continue my art and writing career. And drinking beer. I do not have any plans to continue selling Classic Gamer merchandise next year. So, with the closing of our web store at the end of 2015, this is it. If you want a shirt, a DVD, a Blu-ray, the Classic Gamer and beer mugs, last chance. Buy it now because everything must go. Sadly, I'm out of beer and time. So let me answer one more question here. What is your favorite movie set in Pittsburgh that is not sudden death, asks Ryder Smasher. Well, if you include the surrounding areas, it would obviously be RoboCop, because some scenes from RoboCop were filmed in the steel mills outside of Pittsburgh, but set in Pittsburgh, it has to be sudden death because it's got Van Damme kicking the crap out of Iceberg and Powers Booth crashing a helicopter into the Civic Arena. It doesn't get any better than that. So thank you for watching Classic Game Room. I'm happy that the show is able to continue as a hobby next year because I like just picking games out of the collection that people have sent to the show from around the world and playing them, just having fun with them at my own pace. It's tough to take a hobby and turn it into a full-time career because then suddenly your hobby turns into a job and jobs aren't fun. So I'm happy to see it return to hobby status. And hopefully you will check out my webcomic Disco 8-Track. Subscribe and follow that everywhere that you can because I assure you, if you like this show, you're going to love it. So once again, thank you. From me, from Ethel, from RoboCop. See you soon.
I love bacon, 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 bacon.